I think the world is at war, whether it's politics, whether it's culture, whether it's religion. I think we are very divided.
The way he's painted in these legacy media studios.
So I've said things that you go back and later in life that say, ooh.
Got that one wrong.
Just calling someone a bully, it's like,
he's a Nazi.
Yeah, he's a Nazi, he's worse than Hitler, and it's like, people then taking extreme measures because people are applying extremes to the people.
I've just said, all right, I've got all this stuff here, and some of it might not fit, but, beggars can't be choosers, literally.
Oh no, it could be bad for you. I think the world is at war. Genuinely. I don't think it is outright World War III from a violence perspective. I think the world's at war. I think we are as divided as we have ever been, both culturally, nationally, globally. I think the world is really starting to pick at each other. And whether it's politics, whether it's culture, whether it's religion, whether it's individuals that have a lot of status that people have opinions on, I think we are very divided right now.
It's coming down as well, in my opinion. I don't know about you, but the media, and I think old media and new media have, well, rewind even further. I think years and years ago, everyone got all their information from newspapers, from the BBC, from all these, original large media organisations. That's obviously been a massive shift in that people with podcasts have got very, very big, like Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Chris Williamson, all these people that can have other conversations. I mean, do you remember when Tucker Carlson had a meeting with Putin? And it's like, that'd be like, go back a day, like someone from, I don't know, some random person in the UK having an interview with Stalin. I mean, like, because they only previously wanted to put people in certain lights, whereas now it's like you've got these people who can show us a completely different perspective. Now, I think the reason why it's got so divisive is because these now media outlets, one of them, they need views, and to do that, hitting on pain points, they're going to get more views. So by demonising people like Donald Trump, who is a divisive person, but it comes from the way he's painted in these legacy media studios, in my opinion.
Agreed. I think a lot of the court cases and things that get thrown at people nowadays, where people are having to take extremities in terms of accusations and almost throwing every bit of ammunition that they've got to try and make someone look evil or villainous. So Donald Trump got hit with a slurry of different allegations and accusations, some of which probably true, some of which were definitely true, with the Stormy Daniels payoff. And,
go on, Donald.
And again, yeah.
No, definitely
you take that to what it is, and this is the thing with, I always look at this whole those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, and the reality is we all live in a glass house. So everybody complaining, and one thing I've never seen, or it's like 1% of people who complain, moan, comment, hate, and spew shit on social media. They are always on a private account with one follower, with no profile photo, and their name is something like Window Cleaner 21. And I'm like, right, okay. So all of this hatred comes from these people. And I'm like, you haven't even got the ability to demonstrate or show your own face, which means you're not even confident enough in what you're saying to be able to stand on business, is what we say here in the UK. It means you're actually going to stand on your word, and it doesn't matter what people think of you. You're brave enough to actually stand by what you mean. And look, we all make mistakes. We all say things. I've said things that you go back and later in life that say, Ooh.
Got that one wrong.
Got that one wrong. I learned my lesson on that one. And that's about developing and growing as a human, but that doesn't mean I should be stoned to death through the streets
Like
and
Game of Thrones style.
and marched through the streets and like absolutely like put into the stocks and publicly humiliated. We all make mistakes and we all say things. So Donald Trump, did he sleep with a porn star? Yes, he did. Did he cheat on his wife? Yes, he did. Is that good? No, it's not. Of course it's not. But the fact he's had multiple assassination attempts on him, and
Goes a bit far.
but it does go a bit far, like, because these pieces of ammunition that they use create people. They now need to try and make someone look as evil as they possibly can, and by doing that, they then use all these words like fascist, hate speech, toxic, evil, convicted criminal, and they use these buzzwords to make people really build up a hatred for them, to the point where somebody will literally try and shoot him in the head. Yeah. And by the skin of an ear, he made it.
Or the hand of God.
Whichever one. By the skin of his ear, he made it out alive. And fortunately for him, his family, his children.
The world, arguably, because it could have gone down a very different road.
But regardless of whether you agree with him or not, he was voted in democratically by a large majority of the country that he presides in. And we have to just agree and accept that that was where the country was at the time to vote in that way. In our country, in the UK, we just had a landslide Labour win because of the absolute embarrassing performance of the Conservative government for the many terms prior to that. And they deserved to lose, but I don't know whether Labour deserved to win. And Keir Starmer has since absolutely reneged on any promises that he made, and he's continued to embarrass himself through the performance that he's put on as a leader. But I'm not here chanting for his death or hoping that something bad happens to him. The only thing...
I don't know, I'm close. No,
but
I'm not.
For me, as a pragmatic person, I just look at it and say, well, he's got 4 years left. I wish him well. I want him to hopefully turn a leaf and try and make some positive impacts. And nobody is all bad. Just because he makes decisions that I think are absolutely ridiculous doesn't mean they are for everyone. And I try and look at it as a pragmatic approach and say, well, just because I believe he's doing badly, some people are going to take massive benefit from him, like
illegal immigrants,
like the waves and waves of illegal immigrants that are coming into the country and seeking refuge. And there's an argument that they deserve to be here, and there's an argument that we should all pay for them, and there's an argument that we should give them free healthcare and look after them and sort of say that, and there's an argument that we should have open borders for every country on the planet. Is that pragmatic? Does it work? I don't know. I'm not in any position to be able to give an answer that is able to sort of justify why that would or wouldn't be a bad idea, because we've never tried it before until back in the days of being tribes, and that is how we thrived as a species, in the tribe, and that's where we adapted from. Our brains became larger and our muscles and our sort of physicality grew weaker, so we were more reliant on our brains and teamwork and working as part of a group, and rather than wanting to just immediately kill and eat each other on sight, which was what happened. So it's a shame that we come in full circle, but this division, I agree with you, it stems a lot from this media and this hatred, and it's almost like as a society now we have to use the worst the worst weapons available. Whereas before I could just call someone a bully, but now I have to call you just a rapist, human trafficking pervert for people to because if I just called you a bully,
desensitized the bully now.
Exactly. So just calling someone a bully, it's like, ugh. But I have to throw the absolute whole book at you.
He's a Nazi.
Yeah, he's a Nazi. He's worse than Hitler, and it's like, oh.
He's like, well, he's not killed that many people.
I don't know whether that is factually accurate, right? But people just use this terminology to try and say and compare, which then leads to people then taking extreme measures because people are applying extremes to the people.
Yeah, and if most people are asked in the street that, the Nazi fascist ruler Hitler, if you could go back in time and kill him and stop him from any of that happening, most people would be like, yeah, of course, like that's a moral thing to do. Like I'll be doing my moral duty as a human being to stop tens of millions of people dying, countries being invaded, and the whole world going to a world war. So it's like, well, obviously, of course you would. So then when they paint Donald Trump with the same brush, or Elon Musk, who ironically was the hero of the left at one point because he'd done electric cars, solar panels, getting sustainable humanity to the moon and the Mars and all these missions. And all of a sudden, he's now the enemy because he's now been painted with the same brush, and he's now a Nazi because he's done a salute where he's gone to you, America. And, people forget he's got Asperger's, and it's like the guy's not really fully aware of what he's doing.
Just realised you might get clipped for that.
Probably.
You
yeah.
just made the same mistake that
There
he
you
has.
go.
Oh no. It could be bad for you. But yeah, it's a big shame that this division's sort of taking place and cohesion is seen to be at an all-time low. I remember, we really kind of were at the beginning of that division, because I remember you speak to our parents, grandparents, and there was a sense of community that was around, where it was very much you knew your neighbour, and you'd go round for a tea and coffee, you'd go round for evening supper or dinner, whatever people class it as back in the day, and you'd have, one sort of area in the neighbourhood where all the kids would go and play, and you all knew each other. As now, I don't even know who my neighbour is. Well, okay, just moved into a new house, granted, and the neighbour is a witch. Caroline, not even going to get into it, but you're horrible. And it's not just
that's
me.
A dislike on the video.
No, it's not just me. It's not just me. The whole neighbourhood, the whole estate has got issues. She's complained a whole lot. She's one of these miserable people. But we've tried to be nice, invited her around, said we do a gardening, but no, it's not enough.
No.
Anyway, when we were in our old house, we didn't know any of our neighbours. We didn't know anyone, and we didn't certainly go round for any Christmas parties, bonfire parties, or there was no sort of cohesion amongst the neighbourhood. And even now, it's like we've tried to blend in and sort of get to know our new neighbours and offer to help and offer to be involved, and just come round complaining about where we park our cars.
Well, you find that as well. It's better in the Midlands where we are than it is, say, in London, because, well, I don't really know the reason, but, objectively, you can look at it that, white British people, I think it's only like 35%. People don't even say thank you or hello in the street. If I ever go on a little walk near, like down the canal, and I see someone, it's all like, oh, you're right, how you doing? And it's all just very cheerful and very British. But like in London now, it's like just everyone just seems like they hate each other because there's just so many different cultures and so much different stuff going on. Now, is it a bad thing? I don't know. Objectively, it's something you can look at and acknowledge it. Does not exist.
I think,
and it's division.
And it is a divisive comment in what I'm about to say, but the reality is when you are in this mixing pot of backgrounds, religions, ages, cultures, and ideologies, and there is just this whole, right, live together in peace and harmony. Well, you've got one side of the coin saying it needs to be this way, and another side saying it needs to be this way, and another side it needs to be this way. And they're also committed in their beliefs that they're unwilling to listen to any other alternative viewpoint or try and be empathetic towards somebody else and what they think and what they believe. They're just immediately a non-believer, or they're immediately wrong, or a fascist, or a hater, or transphobic, or homophobic, or all these things that just get,
anything phobic.
You just become immediately part of the group. And it's like, well, because of that forced cohesion, it's like you're going to end up with battles and problems and dramas. Whereas back in the day, we're talking sort of 50, 60, 70, so there was majoritively sort of white British. So everybody is white British. So you're all coming from the same Christian values with the same culture and your same things. You look at countries that are very strict on maintaining their heritage and maintaining their cultural background. Poland, big one. The UAE, huge. If you went over to the UAE and said, we're going to build a synagogue or a Christian church, they would absolutely just, first of all, probably take you to prison. They would say no. But then if you actually proceeded to do it, you would be seriously punished. And because they don't want it to lose their identity, and I think, again, we've become scared as a country now, where it's actually creating further division because we're not standing on what we believe in and standing on our heritage as a country.
Yeah, well, we seem to think that, England as a country has been there since the year 1000? Is it the Vikings came over? And it's like the country has managed to stay with that roots for over 1,000 years. And only in the past 20 odd years, there's been a complete flip of what it's been for like over 1,000 years. And we seem to think that there's no repercussions, there's going to be no issues, everyone's going to just be like, oh yeah, everyone's going to get on. And it's like anyone who's ever been in a friendship group where they don't get on with one person because of whatever it might be, people don't get on with everyone. Not everyone assimilates, not everyone gets on with everyone. That's just how the world works. It depends on what parents you've had. A lot of the time it's some cultures, the woman, like we've said in other episodes, in there it's a bit like sit down, shut up, do as you're told, and don't tell me what to do. But we don't want to live in a society like that. We want to live where we assume our own roles, but it's equal and we see each other as equal. But, if we get a load of people that don't see that way, then it's going to cause division. And I think we're getting painted with a brush of, racism things. It's not racist. It's just concerned about certain, situations that we find ourselves in.
I think people give us too much credit that we've evolved further than we have. I think we are still very much
tribal,
animalistic, tribal creatures with a tiny brain, with no understanding for tolerance and cohesion. Because look at any historic event where there was an invasion of a specific area or religion, whether that was using England, for example. The Vikings came over with a very strong Norse. Their beliefs were found in Norse mythology with Odin,
King Harold,
and they believed in Valhalla and their version of heaven. And they came over here and
human sacrifice.
Quickly were outnumbered, and then they were swayed into the Christian faith, or whatever version of Christianity was involved, was popular at the time. And that all happened. And then there was a split off between Catholicism and Protestants. And there was another war, and the winner of that was what came in. And then Church of England came, and the winner of that war. So it just seems that it generally tends to be the winners are the ones that are writing history and setting a precedent. So it's like, it's wherever the largest majority goes with, and whoever's willing to die or fight for what they believe in. And if we've become a country that's no longer willing to fight for our culture and heritage and what we believe in, then expect it to be changed. That's the reality. So what is the ultimate end goal for world peace? Is it that everyone just has to eventually assimilate and believe the same thing? What would it take for that to happen?
I think the world's been at its most peaceful when there's been individual countries, people, when they have free will and decide they want to go and live somewhere else through free will, they can, but they have to adhere to a set of rules which the rest of the population have to agree with. And the minute you start giving special treatment to certain groups, especially when those groups aren't the natives, there's going to be a massive backlash from the natives going, hang on a minute, that's not fair. It's like, if we went to Qatar and said, well, we want to build all these churches. And they were like, oh, we don't really want you to do that. We're like, hang on a minute. No, that's not fair. Like, we've come here in your country. We want to build church. You can't say we can't do that. And they're like, all right, okay. And if they actually agreed and their government did do it, all the locals would be going, what the hell's going on? What are you doing? We don't want this here. And then they suppress the majority to look after the minority. You're going to get conflict that appears, and it's just inevitable, like when you live next to a twat neighbour.
But then there's always going to be division, isn't there? There's no answer to the ending of all of this.
No, there isn't.
Really, there is always. If everybody's then confined to their countries, you're then going to have one person that's going to sort of say, right, well, I feel like I should have that country there as well, and we should then share. And you're going to get the lunatics. It's something that's plagued humanity for forever.
Like
it's
you said,
change.
We think we're more advanced than we are. At the end of the day, we're still got the same brain as we did hundreds of thousands of years ago. It's not developed a fat lot more, from, I don't know, Neanderthals or whatever. I don't know the full history of the ark, but it's like we're not massively further developed, but technology's gone that much further, like with phones and computers and all these, and we're absorbing so much information. But in history, I think things have been at the most peaceful when you've had, and this is probably partly what's happened as well, when you've got the top of the tree of the ruler of kind of all countries. So say in our situation, we've got America. But now we've got China that's kind of really edging up and tapping on the shoulder. And it's like, they're getting knocked off the perch a little bit. And, everyone, whereas it was in line and America, like the British before, policed the seas, make sure everything was all ticking along. Trade routes were protected because it was an incentive for money. Whereas, I don't know, now it's just going down the wrong road.
I just think people need to take more of a communal approach. I loved Ant Middleton's approach to this, actually. He's really somebody that I quite admire in what he's achieved in his life. If you've not read his books, First Man In is brilliant. Fear Bubble, great book. Ant Middleton's an ex-Special Forces operator. He's come through a series of hardships, obviously had many tours of active duty, including, I think, Afghanistan, I would imagine twice, maybe Iraq, as he was in the forces around that time. Mm-hmm. And made mistakes, absolutely made mistakes as a person. But he's now vying for the mayoral position in London. God help him, because Lord knows that London needs a real shake-up with all of the crime, drugs, thefts, knife crime, massive. You hear it every day. It's crazy. I've got friends that live there, and it's just in certain parts, not in all parts of London, but in a lot of parts of London, it's absolutely just pandemonium. It's chaos. And what he says is that you have to start within first, obviously within yourself. And then it's about starting locally in your local community, which is your neighbours, which is your local town, and doing those bits. And that's where you have to start. And once you've built confidence in your local community and you've found safety in that bubble, you then can use that confidence to then spread it out to your town, and then from your town into your city into your state, and then into that. You can take it into the country and have that confidence inspired back. And I love that message. I think it's important for everybody to take self-accountability and start small, because one person can't help everyone, but everyone can help one person. And I think that's such a undervalued mindset, where we can all help one person. We can all do one thing, love thy neighbour. And whether you believe in Christian values or not, that's something that it obviously teaches. And I think it's important that you actually look at helping somebody close to you. I mean, when was the last time you did something for a stranger or that you don't know about and put you on the spot?
Yeah, no, there was a guy outside the co-op, and I had some clothes in the back of my car, and I was to be honest, I was just gonna put it in the bin, because I just thought I don't really need it, and I just had them in my boot. And this was only about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, so I moved out. Anyway, I'd walked to go to the co-op, and I saw this guy, homeless guy, obviously didn't have anything, someone bought him like a panini or something from in the co-op. And I was just like, oh, I've got all these clothes. I'll just give them to him. And again, his face, after I've like given him like this bag, I've just said, all right, I've got all this stuff here. And I said, I made a joke. I was like, well, some of it might not fit, but you can't really, beggars can't be choosers, literally.
I'm surprised you didn't take a camera out and record it.
I was close. I had me GoPro me bag, but no. So I gave him the bag of clothes, and he was like, "Oh my god, thanks so much." And I was like, "Oh, do you want anything from inside?" I was like, "I'll just grab it for you." And just bought him some like a meal deal, and I asked him what he actually wanted rather than just giving him a pot of pasta and him saying, "Well, I don't like pasta." And some people have that thought, don't they? Where it's like, "Well, you're a beggar, so have what you get." But it's like, well, you might as well ask. So that was the first one for me, or most recent one.
It's important.
I also gave 10p at the co-op to a charity, on the machine. Just give the 10p. I did that one recently.
I always think they're a scam idea because I'm like, where is the co-op really giving this money to charity? And if it's going to the charity, I'm sure they have to do it. But have you seen the actual amount, the percentage that goes to actually helping people?
Yeah.
Some of the charities, it's like 20% of the donation actually goes to the people, and the rest is admin costs, charitable costs,
dividends,
and fees that obviously the charity incurs, which obviously exist, because no business, even charities, run for free. There's still overheads, costs to run the charity. So that makes sense, but some of them really push it, and like obviously BLM was a funny one from back in the day that got exposed, where the founders and heads of that are living in some ridiculous mansion. I think the other one was the Sir Tom.
Oh yeah.
He was
Tom.
Captain Tom. Yeah, he was doing his walking around the garden during COVID. And his daughter's gone and bought this like £3 million house, and he's gone, oh, it's in Captain Tom's honour, and I'm like, yeah, well, who's living there? Well, we're living there, but it's got a swimming pool for veterans to use or for people to use, and he was like, right, how often can they use it? Well, they can use it for 30 minutes every other month, and it's like, right, okay, so it's this whole thing where. And money's a great divider, and that is a reality, and the haves and have-nots. And unfortunately, it's where the haves want to hold on to as much as they've got, and the have-nots want to take as much as they can from the haves. And there's this constant, again, battle there. So there's another divide in that, rather than thinking, right, well, they've managed to accumulate X sum of wealth. How can I follow and do the same? The reality is it's not an immediate pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It's the whole journey you have to go on to reach that pot of gold. And that's where the value is. That's where the lessons are. But people just see the trophy. They see the view at the top of the mountain, and they don't see the climb that it took to get there.
Yeah.
And
well, with Elon Musk's book that I'm reading, it's like, most people don't know, he's had a miscarriage or stillborn baby, Arizona. And it's like, after like about a month, and it's like this guy's gone through and that's just one little example, majorly bullied at school and fights every day. And it's like people just look at him now and go, oh, he's the richest man in the world, and he's like this billionaire, like lavish lifestyle. It's like, yeah, but you don't realise the amount of work that he's done and puts in, and the graft and sleeping at the factory and all these sorts of things that they're like, oh, well, he must have just got that from, taking it off someone else. It's like, no, you bought a Tesla. You use his internet services, you use like his boring company, or you use his Neuralink. If you use those services, he's providing a service in return for him getting his money. It's not like he just robbed it off everyone.
He's created value for a whole lot of people. I remember his dad, wasn't he? His dad's a weird character as well.
Musk.
Yeah. Didn't he?
Married his stepdaughter.
Yeah, he slept and had a child with his stepdaughter.
Yeah, exactly.
AKA Elon's stepsister or something at the time.
Oh, it was messed up, yeah.
Crazy. I mean, people live in these weird family dynamics. That's certainly one of the more strange ones that I've heard, which probably equates to Elon being a bit of a strange guy. But generally, I think a force for good, and regardless, and people then just pull out it's always the same excuses, isn't it, when people see success and they create this further division. And when I see someone that's successful, I genuinely think, hats off to you. even if it was passed down to them from family, or whether it was won on a lottery or whatever it was a simple, I'm happy for you. But most people throw out oh, he's got a nice car, must be a drug dealer. Like, probably not. And the other one, it's like, well, he's insanely rich. It's like, well, yeah, he inherited it. Like, okay. Yeah. And it's like, right, well, the next one, it's like, well, he's built massive companies. And he's like, well, he didn't build them. He's just worked off of the back and hard work of others. And it's like,
yeah. But people get this mindset from the media. Like, you know, people only know about this stuff because it's been told to us via, you know, TV, like the BBC or CNN or like CNBC and these things. So like people get it in their head. It's like, oh, rich people, this, rich. I mean, there's an election going through New York at the minute, Mandani or whatever his name is, and we'll see what happens there, because he's like seriously on about taxing the rich like crazy amounts now. It's even easier in America because if you're like a billionaire, I think it's the city with the most billionaires, New York, I'm sure it is. So we'll see what, they'll just move. They'll all just go to like Texas. They seem to all be going at the minute. And it's like, it would just show that does not work in a society, in a world that's so interconnected, where you just take an iPad somewhere and you can have $1 billion company's system on an iPad, and you can go and do a Jordan Belfort on on his yacht.
I think you've hit on a nice word, which is belief, which is really at the heart of all of this division, is people's beliefs. And there's a great quote that we question all of our beliefs except those that we truly believe in, and those are the ones we never think to question. And the reality is, we're all humans at the end of the day. And if I was brought up in the same environment with some, general changes, but if I'd walked in the shoes of another person that I had strong disagreements with, if I had spent my lifetime walking in their shoes, I would share that belief. And so we always think we're so virtuous and correct, and our beliefs are so right all the time, and we never think, well, the reality is I've built up these beliefs from listening to people that I surround myself with, through my parents, through my environment, through the people I watch and listen and learn from, and the news articles. So, but that doesn't mean they're right. And I just think that, to end on a positive, or what we hope to be a positive, is that if there's one message that people take from it, it's that just stop thinking that what you believe is the right way. Because the reality is, who are you? You're not Jesus Christ. You're not whichever insert religious head. And you are a human with faults and beliefs that 90%, 99% of which probably aren't your own. They're probably copy and pasted. Even mine, they are. That quote that I've just come up with, I didn't come up with that.
Trademark that one.
Yeah, it wasn't mine. And that's the point. Is we are a sum of the influences that we're surrounded by, and just bear that in mind, and just be a little bit more tolerant of people. And again, we can all do a little bit better on that, including me, including you. We can all do a little bit better. But I think the one thing that we have to just remember more than anything, it's that we don't need to resort to violence when it comes to this now as a society. It's that if we can, at the very least, try and live together on things and just focus on, like I said, keep it small, help one person. That has a butterfly effect. If everybody helps one person, then the world is a better place for it, isn't it?
But this is what democracy is. It's about sharing ideas, and if the majority agree with the ideas that you say, then that's the thing that we should do. If not, and it's conversely, then obviously we agree with the other person, and that's the direction we go, and that's what it's all about, and that's where we are, where it's got to be listen to the majority, and if that's what the majority want, that's what we do.
I just think that's what, like I said, to go back to good leadership goes back to. It's being able to take accountability, being able to lead from the front, and taking everybody's views on and not immediately dismissing something as wrong. And if you've made a mistake, it's owning up to it. As I said, accountability is huge. And I mentioned Ant Middleton. He is someone that takes ultimate accountability for his actions. He's not always got everything right, but he's certainly put a lot of effort into making sure that if he has got something wrong, he's owned it and said, I've got to learn from it and be better and do better. And you hear politicians all the time, and this is why I genuinely believe that I would make a decent, in fact, a very decent politician, because I'd listen. And if I got something wrong, whether it was, let's say, around COVID, where there was misinformation on vaccines or mask wearing, if I'd push that out as an agenda, if that then the information changed, I'd be the first one put my hand up and say, look, sorry, country, I got it wrong with the lockdowns that I imposed with this. I was doing my best with the information that I had at the time, tried to do it. This was my reasoning, and this is why I was wrong. And here's the change. And people are doing so much more respect and confidence in their ability to lead because they are actually actively course correcting and making changes and learning. I do it all the time. Hold my hands up and say, got that one wrong. But you hear politicians now and they try and just immediately backpedal. Well, I didn't mean it like that. Well, that's not what I said. And it's like, rather than just going, do you know what, actually, thank you for raising that. I've since learned from that experience. Yeah, I was wrong to say it at the time. This is why I said it at the time. And this is what I've learned from it. And this is how I'll do better with the new information moving forward.
Yeah.
I think it'd be easy to win the election.
Should we run?
Yeah, I actually might. I think it'd be so easy because you just have to listen to people and you just have to be pragmatic and actually, like you said, take the ear of what people are listening to and stop taking such an extreme view one side or the other, whether it's right or left.
Yeah.
I think it's there for the taking. So,
well, I think that on my final point, the way of solving the division in the society is communication from both sides. And then the best ideas win.
I'm here for it. Communicate. Right. Communicate to the audience why they should subscribe. Can everybody just get along? Just play nicely. Share your toys in the playground. Share your beliefs, but don't immediately put everybody else down for not believing in the same things you do. Just grow up and just get along. But we can start by helping each other, by helping us. Hit that subscribe button. And as I said, go out there, find one person that you can help today and give them a hand. We'll catch you in the next episode.